Hi there. I'm going to review the Super Mario Galaxy movie. This came out just a couple weeks ago in the theaters, and it's kind of a funky film. It's more or less a continuation of Super Mario Brothers. More or less, I think it's Princess Paulina. It starts out right away introducing her. She gets kidnapped by Bowser's son, Kiddo, a big mech machine that comes and attacks her kingdom, and nonetheless she gets transported away. Meanwhile, Mario and Luigi have to deal with archaeological finds and faraway galaxies. Um, this movie is I don't know. I never played the Mario movie. I don't play a lot of Mario games. So I don't know how Mario Galaxy actually supposed to be in the actual canon of the games per se. I believe it's supposed to be more or less you grab a character and you do all kinds of puzzles. I'm not from that familiar with it. I haven't played a lot of Mario games over the years except for some of the early ones. Nonetheless, this movie, more or less, I mean, it's a world filled with different places. Mario and them end up in one area. Princess Peach and Paulina. Well, Paulina comes under the abduction of Prince Bowser's son, and it's rather funny with him because he's I guess he's trying to use her powers to do something. Basically, trying to take over the world. I guess is what the joke is. Nonetheless, it's a movie worth watching. It's fun for kids. It'll be fine for older people. I don't know. It depends on how much you like the Mario games, I guess, as to how much you like these. Um, its plot is fairly basic. It's not too heavy duty. It's Bowser Jr. Bowser Jr. is looking to get back his dad because his dad, of course, has been a little guy in a little castle inside of was it Mario's lair or whatever. But nonetheless, those two old leftover Brooklyn plumbers are at it again, and they're doing a bunch of things. And the movie's more or less it's got these guys wandering around different worlds. They end up going to different worlds. More or less, they have to. I guess they gotta go rescue Paulina. Paulina has got some sort of magical power that's needed, I guess. Nonetheless, it's a fairly funky movie. Nothing too amazing. It's a fun Mario movie. The visual effects or the visual shoots are not too bad at all. In fact, it's quite an actually interesting looking film. I like how this renders in the terms of a 3D animated film that looks, pretty good. It's close. It's sort of close to live action a wild way. I think this is as close as you ever can get to a live action Mario movie without having to totally rebuke the world of reality. Because of course, in the real world, this movie wouldn't really work properly. It wouldn't work properly. It would become a problem. But nonetheless, I mean, there was a Mario movie that was done 30 years ago that was set in more or less the real world and involved real people doing real things. That movie was all right, but these animated movies I think work a little bit better with the concept because they're not bound by the rules of reality, so they can actually be their video game counterparts. The old movie basically they couldn't do very much. They actually couldn't do that much at all. And that was the biggest problem with it was that they couldn't be Mario characters. The closest thing they got to jumping was literally just some random stuff. But what? But sure. Nonetheless, this movie is all right. I mean, they go through all kinds of different worlds. There's some pretty interesting places. I mean, there's a rather awkward subplot of somebody stealing Toadstool's backpack or whatever and taking him to a different world, and they have to go and follow him. And it's got some rather funky scenes throughout the film. I think the funky part of the subplotting is that Bowser Jr. eventually gets a hold of his dad. And I was a little, this is the one area I was a little disappointed. I was hoping that Bowser would actually end up reforming himself and turning into a better person, per se. Instead, they just kind of have him going along with Bowser Jr. for a little bit, and then toward the end, he just decides he's going to become evil all over again. So I'm not sure. I thought it would work better as a reformed character. I guess it doesn't really work in the end. He is supposed to be the major enemy. They do a fairly decent job with some inserts from the video games, particularly Super Mario 1, where they're actually playing the game in order to win the rounds involving all these characters. It's actually more or less showing you what's going on. They got the 2D game showing you what's going on to the characters in the movie. And so it's actually working pretty well for that. It was rather funky to see that feature going on in there. There's nothing too serious with this movie. Apparently, at the end, they do get a hold of a sort of a painting weapon that allows them to create characters out of nowhere. And this works well to a certain extent. It does create a dragon for a few minutes that doesn't really ends up doing a whole lot of nothing, but nonetheless, it's cool to look at. I don't know. The plotting of these movies was never going to be spectacular because they're based on video games, and video game plotting is not meant to be about the plot. It's meant to be about the puzzle itself. The puzzle itself is the big deal. In these movies, that's the only thing that's missing is the puzzle component. There's no puzzle narrative to operate on. It's just them going through the motions of what they're supposed to be doing. But nonetheless, it works pretty well. It looks pretty good. I don't know. Paulina has some powers that Bowser Jr. wants to potentially take over the world, and of course everybody's like all happy that Bowser's back. But nonetheless, but it's all right. It does a good job of what it's trying to do. There's nothing spectacular about this movie. It's a pretty standard issue movie. I more or less enjoyed it for what it was. It's not. I think these movies are not quite as good as, say, movies before them, like, what is it, Up or whatever, and then there's other movies, Incredibles, older movies that I think did a better job of story narratives. The biggest problem with Super Mario is that it's got a limitation on itself of what it can do. You can't make a Super Mario movie that's all about a functional adventure. You gotta have one that's based something in part to what the video games actually did, or else it's not really a Mario movie. But nonetheless, this one here, they make an interesting use of their character development. At one point, they get a hold of fire flowers and they start using that to do things and use the fire flowers to light their path. Nonetheless, they get all the way to the end. It's interesting enough. It works out in the end. It does introduce a subplot. Bowser ends up going down to molten lava, but before you think he's down for the count, of course, he comes back as a skeleton Bowser. So I guess that must be a feature of the video games that I have missed because I have never seen skeleton Bowser. This must be one of the characters. This must be a character that's playable in one of the video games or all video games nowadays. Again, this was not around when I was actually playing Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario, I passed that by quite a long time ago. Nonetheless, movie's all right. I mean, it does star some significant actresses. I don't think it's really that important to talk about who they are, though, because only like Chris Pratt and Brie Larson is really recognizable. Anya Taylor-Joy is also pretty good as Princess Peach. But, I don't know, it works out. It's a decent movie. It's entertaining. I think that's all it needed to be was. It's a fun little movie about Super Mario Brothers trying to go through the ropes and dealing with different things. And that's, in a sense, really all it has to be. It's not being particularly complicated. Nonetheless, decent movie. Definitely good enough to go to the theater for. It's a fun little film.